Welcome, everybody. This is Gaurav Singh, your host on Cybercria. This is our episode number 2, the why of the book, which I was fortunate enough to write with my amazing co-author, who's also my guest for today. I don't think his name is would be surprise for you. I think he's a is a somebody who started this maybe the why along with my other friend and an amazing leader of our industry who would be my host in coming episode 2. So but yeah, let's uh, I think give the camera, give the focus to my amazing co-author, and welcome JP. Welcome to our episode number 2 on Cybercria.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gaurav. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation and really a great opportunity to talk about many things, but mostly about the book and go over certain parts of the book that we may have not covered in other webcasts, webinars, and presentations that we have had. Yeah, it's always great to be in the same session with you, Gaurav. So thank you for bringing me here.
No, there is one wine, JP. As you said, one episode may not do justice for topics and things you bring to the table and things we want to talk about it. But so I think as you graciously agreed to come again on our show, so maybe we'll do other episode and things and everything we want to talk about it. But yeah, we'll focus for this episode about our book, Cybersecurity for SAP books. So I guess if we can maybe show it together at the same time, JP, are you ready? We will show what we're talking.
There you go.
So, Cybersecurity for SAPPress book, which JP and I was fortunate enough to write together. So before I go into the book and I think deep there, maybe let's just talk about JP. I know we will need more time just to talk about what you do and your expertise and what everything you have been doing for last more than 20 years, right? But you know, just give a brief introduction for anybody who maybe haven't heard about, which there's a I think chance they should have known, but just give a brief introduction from your side,
A-
JP.
Absolutely. Thanks, Grab. Yeah. So my background is coming more from a cybersecurity perspective. I started doing pen testing and security research more than like 25 years ago. So started doing research, vulnerability research, pen testing, all like very low level stuff, understanding security from the trenches, let's say, and helping organizations secure their systems all over the world, working with different customers. And at some point, we realized, hey, like this applications, SAP applications, every time we come across one of these, it's same results. They don't hold the same type of security protections that other applications, but these are vulnerabilities that could be affecting all SAP customers. It's not just custom stuff. So that led to the foundation of Onapsis, Mariano, Victor, and myself, basically starting this initiative to help organizations secure their SAP applications. At the beginning, we did a lot of pen testing and services showing that these systems, hey, like organizations are running these applications in a vulnerable state, leaving those systems completely exposed, whereas these applications are super critical for all customers. So that's why we started developing products and solutions and delivering solutions for these problems that weren't being solved. And I've been focusing a lot on the research side, threat landscape, understanding what threat actors are doing, working with the research labs, presenting and helping organizations understand what are the most critical vulnerabilities, what they should be aware of. So still very technical, and I've been enjoying really staying on that side of the fence and really being able to bring that experience and expertise to the community, the latest through the form of a book. So it's been a great journey so far.
No, thank you, JP. I believe you have to have a separate podcast just about that whole story of how Mariano and you and Victor, you guys think about something which is even today, I would say, it's still like it's still a journey, right? We are still figuring out. There's still a lot of kind of a false assumptions and still ambiguity, right? And you guys thought about that in way back in which year? It was 2005, 6?
2007 was the first, let's say, reports. Well, between 2005 and 2007, a lot of report of vulnerability. 7 and 8, Mariano presenting at Black Hat, very first presentations around vulnerabilities in SAP applications. And then the official founding year of on Apsis is 2009. And since then, we've been growing and helping organizations with a strong focus on SAP applications, securing these applications.
Okay, so I think, yeah, as I said, we have to do a separate episode just with that. I think it would be amazing to hear all about what did you think, your why. I know there's something in our book as well, and Mariano wrote a foreword, I think, on our book, so that also gives some insights into it. So I have some insight, but it would be good to hear that directly from all three of you, if or maybe at least two of you, if not three, and yeah, maybe share with our audience. Keep that for maybe a future episode with Mariano and you, JP. But let's kind of come back to our book, as you mentioned, right? This is the latest, your way to kind of give back and continue what you started way back almost 2 decades before. So let's go back to like why of this book? Like why did you like what point you think or we thought we should be writing this book? You wanna talk more about it of the why of the book, JP?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it has many parts. We've been together with Mariano. We've been talking about the possibility of writing a book like this for a long time, many years ago.
Okay.
But it's always been the case that we knew if you think it is a lot of work, it is a lot of work, but it's more than what you think. So it takes a lot of effort to write a book, and we knew that it was like, okay, it could be good, but we have so many things going on that it was like never the right moment. But then we got together. I think it was already 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember the
Yeah.
exact date, where you had that initiative of, hey, like, I would like to write this cybersecurity book for SAP. And then together with Mariano, we thought, hey, maybe this is the moment, right? This is the opportunity that we have been thinking about. And yeah, things aligned. I was able to, I'm not traveling as much as I used to before. So somehow I have more availability during nights, and I can combine that with what I'm doing. So it was just like the right timing, right? So the best partner I can ask for, it's you coming, like really someone who's evangelizing about cybersecurity for SAP, who's leading those initiatives at your organization, who has lived through it. So you have that expertise and background from the customer perspective, and then just things aligned, and yeah, I think it was a great opportunity, and I'm really happy how it turned. But yeah, that's a little bit of the how or why from the beginnings that I think we haven't covered much in the past in the sessions that we've done together, webinars, interviews. I think this part we haven't covered much, but it's a great part of the story of how the book came about.
Yeah, there's always I think there always a story behind, I think, the work you do, right? So, thank you. I think that was really good, and you talk about it. Uh, I think I don't know if you how much you believe in destiny, but I think I do believe in destiny. Like we were destined to be a co-author. I know I've been like you have been thinking about it. You're just saying, and I've been thinking about it for some time. And I think, yeah, we kind of met. I think we have met before we talked about book, right? I think I have met Mariano and others, right? I don't think we talked before, right? So it was not like it was some destiny for sure. And then my follow-up question on that was, I think you I think alluded to that, right? Like it seemed like the perfect blend of like two different kind of perspective you can ask to write such a book. Do you I think you always mention that, I know, in any other discussion, right? How did we complement each other when we became co-author? Like, do you have one thought on that? I know you just mentioned that too, but maybe you want to elaborate on that, like why we were the maybe the one of the best co-authors you can get for this book, or just maybe brag about it. You have something to say on that?
Absolutely, yeah, because I think we, we have both sides of the coin, right? On one side, you have the practitioner, the technology, and the research side, um, from like being there on the trenches, working with many organizations, addressing security, and really working with SAP periodically, reporting vulnerabilities, working with those fixes, analyzing the threat landscape, working with threat intel organizations, working with global certs. So the side of the vulnerabilities, the risk, the threat landscape, how it affects organizations. That's it. Let's say one side of the coin. The other side is like, okay, but there's thousands of SAP customers that live and breathe this, and they had to go through their processes to secure SAP applications, to apply patches, to monitor. And that's you, right? Like you bring that experience firsthand, living through it, working with SAP, navigating through BTP adoption. Is so everything that SAP is bringing to the customer base, those are things that you have been living through. Okay, how is security really interjecting with this new project that I'm putting together? So that's why I think we complemented perfectly, in the sense that we're bringing two very different perspectives of the same problem, right? So yeah, that's why I think there's no better combination than these two co-authors that we have.
Okay. Thank you, JP. I think the follow-up question I had, maybe then we will go into our book and we'll cover some chapters and our target audience. So I think the book launched in this year, February, right? Then it became bestseller, the number one bestseller, I believe, in 3 months or 2 months. I think I'm just trying to look at the timeline. So did you think about that when we were writing this book, or there was like a good surprise which we always want to have it? Like, what was your take on that? Like, this is surprise you, or how was your response when you figured out we were the number one bestseller?
It was an absolute surprise. I wasn't expecting something like that. Security, actually, we were told, I remember by the editors, that typically security doesn't sell very well. And that's something that is well known. It's like security isn't really exciting or a hot topic. It's like nobody wants to deal with that. Everyone has to, but no one wants to. It's like perceived by everyone as a blocker. Oh no, there it goes, security again, bringing all those requirements and blocking my project. So I wasn't expecting that to be the case, but it was a very, very pleasant surprise. And it looks like the book piqued a lot of interest. And yeah, really looking forward to how this evolves. And who knows, maybe we iterate this in some time with a second edition, right?
Okay, so I think I had a question on that one. So as you talk about second edition, maybe let's talk about that. So if you have to write a second edition in 20, I don't know, 2025 is right now. So maybe next 4 years or 5 years, what other thing you would add in the book which is not there, or anything you like if you, and I would love to write the second version. I'm glad you talk about that, JP. So what we would do differently, or anything you would think we should like we missed maybe because you can only have this many chapters, this many content. So anything you would love to have or add based on what we know, or this whatever the word we are in today with SAP.
Yeah, that's a good point. First, I would capture as much feedback from our readers as possible. I've been getting good feedback. I want to start hearing more on the improvement opportunities for the book. And the second part is maybe a little bit more on the SaaS solutions, like cloud SaaS, where really like all SAP customers are going or embracing in some way, shape, or form. So, so yeah, I think we did a good job of uncovering traditional and new SAP technology like S4HANA, ABAP, Java, business objects, all of those areas. We may need to add some of the technologies that we haven't dug really deep into, like SaaS solution.
Yeah. And today is the AI word too, so maybe add some AI flavor to it too, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
100%.
all new word. We are all figuring it out. I know SAP has its own Joule and automation, and the BTP word is expanding like anything. So would love to have those. Yeah, as you said, the non-traditional word where SAP seems to be moving to, right? So, okay, so that
Absolutely.
was good, JP. So I think let's again hold our book again. I'm gonna start maybe opening few pages and ask some questions from the book. So the book is
Is this a test?
cybersecurity for no, not a test. Maybe just for our audience, right? Like I know, I think we have 11 chapters, right? So maybe we'll give some sneak peek and maybe why somebody should be getting this book or they should not be, right? Maybe they're already, I know, they're doing that, whatever. Maybe there's a gap, and so it's a resource, right? And I don't think we claim to be like it will have everything, but we claim to be like it will have a foundation and the thing where you start your journey, right? This is we always say security it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? And it will never be done, never, right? I think that's how it is, right? This is always something new. So so the 11 chapters, I think we started with what is cybersecurity, and then the second one was why do we need SAP cybersecurity or cybersecurity for SAP? So anything you wanna talk about like those first two chapters, maybe just for our audience, like what they will get from those two chapters, JP?
I think the first one is fairly straightforward in terms of what is cybersecurity. For someone coming from the IT security side, it's probably not much new stuff, but it is for someone like the typical readers of SAPPress, who are SAP experts, SAP professionals, who are implementing, upgrading, operating specific SAP solutions. So when they want to get into the security side, well, this is a good foundation, chapter 1. And chapter 2 is really, hey, why? Why do we need cybersecurity for SAP? If you think about it, it's like that's the core of why all of this exists in the first place, is because SAP applications are so critical, so complex, and have been operated and secured in silos by specific security teams that have been doing roles, profiles, authorizations, but they haven't been really part of the responsibilities of CISOs until recently, which we are seeing a more like a transition towards really embracing SAP applications as part of the entire IT landscape and operating security as part of the SAP security as part of the CISO's responsibilities. And there's been gaps there, large gaps in terms of, hey, like this technology that is very complex, widely deployed across SAP customers and widely integrated has not been part of security audits, penetration testings, vulnerability management, a lot of the security processes that organizations are very used to and have been running across the IT landscape for years. Because of how SAP security has been evolving, the responsibilities and the budgets and how CIOs have been operating SAP applications, these gaps have been created. And we can talk for hours of the why of
Yeah,
those gaps.
yeah, yeah,
But the reality is like, if we want to focus on the solution, it's like we need to bring all of our existing processes that we have in our organizations, vulnerability management, threat detection, secure development lifecycle, even penetration testing, continuous security audits. We need to bring SAP technology into this, and we need to make sure that we have processes that really integrate these applications. That will be kind of okay moving forward what we do, right? But the reality is why, in terms of the why we need cybersecurity for SAP, is like these gaps that have been created over time that CISOs didn't have visibility into. SAP auditors were only focusing on auditing SAP applications, but not really focusing on cybersecurity. The SAP security teams didn't know anything about cybersecurity, so they were only focusing on roles, profiles. So all of these assumptions were really creating very, very critical gaps. And now, fortunately, organizations are waking up to this and addressing, because threat actors are getting faster and faster, and they are learning about this technology and exploiting it.
Yeah, thank you, JP. I think we'll talk about the recent incident and things maybe another episode. We'll go deep dive. I would love to have you are the brain behind all the good work and all the vulnerabilities you guys have been finding and then helping SAP to patch, right? But I think, yeah, when I talk about the different two words, I think I was trying to just, I don't know if you can, audience can see it. I don't know if it's blurry or visible. Like there are two siloed words, right? SAP security and there is the CISO's word, right? There seems to be still like a two different siloed word. AP seems to still be a black box for most of the organization. If you go to your CISO and ask, I think so. I think our book, I think we try to bring in kind of those two perspectives. As you said, look, this book is more for the somebody who's on the SAP side, but it also has enough kind of a resources for somebody like a CISO's org, right? Would you agree, AP?
Absolutely.
Okay. So thank you. I think thank you for that insight. So I don't know, chapter 3 was more about architecture, about SAP. I don't think we going to talk about that here. I don't think you can go and read it, right? And then I guess the chapter 4 and chapter, I believe, I think no, chapter 3 and 4, I would say was the key chapter, right? 3 was all about SAP, right? And then 4 was how do we start, right? So I think, so if somebody has to read like only they don't have time to read all the 500 pages. If they have to pick two chapters, do you think they should just read chapter 3 and chapter 4? That would be enough, or
That's a very hard question. It's I would say chapter 3. The key with chapter 3 and 4 is that in order to understand in order to secure something, you need to understand what you're securing to be able to make good decisions about it. So, because of the complexity of these applications, of SAP applications, it is it is the case that if you don't understand this complexity, you may not be able to make the right decisions around how to secure it. So, chapter 3 goes through all of the underlying technology that supports SAP applications, and chapter 4 is really how do we secure it, right? Making sure that we cover some of the most critical areas. I'm tempted to say yes, probably those
okay?
two, but there's a lot of value on the other chapters as well, for sure.
Yeah, of course we want them to read all the chapter, but like this is a new word of the few seconds of reel, and I'm all book guy. I always prefer the book I can hold in my hand. But yeah, if you're listening and then you have our book already, or you are planning to buy a book and you think, I'm not gonna read 500 pages, I think JP and both are saying at least read chapter 3 and chapter 4. So if chapter 1 and 2 was why, chapter 3 was what, and chapter 4 is how, right? Is it a
Mhm.
fair statement, JP?
It is, yeah.
Okay. So we define why, then we said what, like going deep into the SAP ecosystem to going to application server, message server, and gateway and RFCs and everything. And then we say, okay, okay, now we understand why we should be thinking about cybersecurity for SAP. But if you are a customer, or if you are a on the other side, helping a customer or securing their SAP ecosystem, where do we and how do you start, right? So, okay, so highly recommend to read chapter 3 and 4 for our audience and our book readers. Okay, let's move on, JP. So, chapter 5 was vulnerabilities and patches. I think I feel like this is where you live and breathe and sleep every day, right? And maybe let's talk about the research work you do, maybe briefly for our audience. And I know we will do a full focus session probably on the recent event and the 0 days and the critical vulnerabilities. But maybe let's just, for the audience, for who are listening in, maybe just give them brief about what you do, JP, and then why this is so important in your cybersecurity for SAP journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mean about the research labs?
I think, yeah, the chapter 5 is vulnerabilities and patches. Maybe add both 5 and 6. So yeah, vulnerabilities and patches and threat detection and incident response. Maybe bring in your like
Yeah.
the book and maybe the work you do. Maybe just correlate everything in maybe in whatever time you wanna take.
I okay, I understand. First, let's a few words about the chapter 5 and 6. 5, when we talk about vulnerabilities and patches, we are also covering the security nodes, the type of vulnerabilities, because there is a lot of concepts around being able to understand how to uh, how to react to a vulnerability. What is this vulnerability about? What is the criticality? What is affected? How is this exploitable? But then the counterpart of vulnerability is a patch. So the solution for that is delivered by SAP in the form of an SAP security node. Okay, what are SAP nodes? What are SAP security nodes? What are the components, the building blocks, and how should we analyze all of those? If you need to do that manually, if you need to go through the SAP for me now and the nodes and download a node, analyze a specific security node, well, the book covers fairly in depth the different components, how you should go about it, how you should apply the node, the different mechanisms to do that, and to be able to address and react to specific vulnerabilities that are patched by SAP. And the other part, which is chapter 6, talks about more from the threat perspective. It's like when a vulnerability affects the system and is being abused of, a threat actor, an attacker, an insider is actually making use or abuse of that vulnerability, then that becomes a threat. And being able to detect, categorize a threat, prevent a threat, all of those, the types of threats, the types of attackers, all of those aspects are considered in chapter 6, where we go through what's threat management, how to detect someone doing something on your system, what are the different type of scenarios that you could face, some real incidents. And yeah, so that's important because that's where the ballpark of cybersecurity for SAP lives, right? In risks and vulnerabilities, preventing active threats. So which correlates to vulnerability management and threat detection. There are other areas like secure development and secure configuration, secure integration, which we could also put on the side of vulnerability management. But yeah, that's a ballpark of how you react to it. And from the Onapsis Research Labs, we continuously invest significant time into identifying potential vulnerabilities, reporting them to SAP, working with SAP for a fix. We do a lot of research projects focused on ultimately have more secure systems. So yeah, I don't know if that was what you were looking for in terms of
No,
chapter
no,
5 and 6.
no, it is perfect, perfect. I know we need a separate discussion just going deep into it, but maybe we'll just, I would say, quickly just mention it again for sake because it's so recent, right? And also it seems like a lot of work on the customer side, right? So if suppose I'm a customer listening to this podcast and maybe I haven't read your book or like our book, but I'm talking from like customer behalf. Where shall I start around the vulnerability? Is it just like going to the patch days? So maybe just talk about like the patch days, the security patch days. They're just going to that second Tuesday. So the SAP patch days or the patch days are second Tuesday of the month for all the vendors, right? To JP, that's true. That's true statement. So every
For the largest vendors that embrace that standard, yes. So
okay,
Microsoft started that several years ago, and then Adobe, SAP, many other software vendors adopted that because it gives predictability. Whereas before that, security patches could come anytime, and it was very disruptive. So now it's everyone expects them. So second Tuesday of every month, everyone is ready to apply those critical patches for the majority of largest software vendors. There might be others that release out of band, like ad hoc patches, but these ones do release a significant number of patches. The other one that is also large but has a different release cadence is Oracle, but it's in the form of a CPU quarterly. They release every 3 months, but SAP is monthly together with most of the software vendors.
okay. So SAP audience protecting SAP. Second Tuesday of the month. Look out for SAP's patch days. They have a different, I would say, link for every patch days, but there's a whole kind of a. We can share those links in our podcast as well. So make sure if you don't know about it, if this is the news to you, and you don't have a cybersecurity program for SAP, at least start looking at it, work with your business friends and figure out if you don't have a tool, something like on Apps or other to know whether it's applicable to your landscape, at least start there, right? That would be your recommendation, JP. At least you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, the source is always on it used to be on the marketplace, the old marketplace for SAP. It's now SAP for me. And you have the security notes app there where you can look at all security notes that are released by SAP. You can download them, you can see the different attributes, and you can look at the nodes individually. From there, you can access at the SAP for me site. You can look at the different nodes, the building blocks, the support packages that are fixing those, correction instructions if there are any. So that would be the source in terms of the raw data. Then how you operationalize it, how you react to it, it really depends on each organization's process, the technology they have, as you said. But yeah, that I would totally recommend that as a starting point, as we highlight in the book as well.
Yeah. And there are like few 0 days and critical security nodes which probably getting exploited, right? So you want to mention a couple of them just for the audience as we're talking, or we should cover that in a separate one. Let me just mention it. I think this. So if they're starting, maybe at least make sure they are good on those ones, right? JP, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so maybe we can take some moments to highlight the most relevant parts of this. But this was definitely a first in the history of cybersecurity for SAP. We're talking about CB 2025 31324, which is a CBSS 10 vulnerability that affected SAP Java systems with a specific component called Visual Composer. A threat actor or group of threat actors, it's still undefined who was the original zero-day threat actor, but knowledge about how to exploit a vulnerability, unauthenticated, leading into over HTTP, leading into full remote command execution, full compromise of the system. And the way everyone started learning about it was because some SAP customers were being exploited and reporting that to SAP. Eventually, SAP released a patch on April 24th. April 22nd was the first public mention about it from Eclectic IQ. They released a blog post of one of their investigations. We know that there were many incident response firms involved in investigations during that period. We have seen with our threat intel that threat actors started proving for vulnerable systems back in January, and then the actual exploitation campaign was executed starting March, including April, May, and the complexity of this is that this was initially thought to be file upload vulnerability, but it was a remote command execution. It was a deserialization vulnerability. We actually worked with SAP and we provided information to SAP. So SAP came up with a second patch to completely close the vulnerability because of our threat intelligence that we obtained when threat actors attacked systems that we were monitoring. Yeah, that led to threat actors being able to execute commands as well as upload web shells. So they did upload web shells, some of which were uploaded with predictable names like helper.jsp, like cache.jsp. So once this became widely known, even though how to exploit the vulnerability wasn't known, the use of those web shells was. So we saw a lot of threat actors jumping into this only by using the existing web shells that have been deployed between March and May. So that led to a whole new wave of attacks on those systems and compromises. Eventually, in August 15, I think it was, Shiny Hunters, or actually the combination of three threat actors, I forgot, Lapsus, Shiny, three threat actors combined into one, released the public exploit for this vulnerability. So after that, we saw another wave of exploitation and compromises because now everyone knew how to deploy those web shells and execute commands. So we saw remote access tools, toolkits deployed on systems, and many other techniques used. So this was a zero-day campaign that led to a lot of different developments across the SAP cybersecurity world, and organizations had to react. We worked with many organizations that did act on time. They applied those patches, they applied the mitigation, they followed up with the other patch, they reviewed their systems, because it wasn't only a matter of applying the patch, it was also a matter of, hey, if during that 0-day phase someone exploited us and deployed a web shell, we need to close that, right? Clean the system, make sure there's no persistency there. So that was another part that some organizations missed and they were compromised against. It was a very complex area that kept us and is keeping us and many people busy still. We are still hearing from the press up until today, a large manufacturing company that is still not operating, still down since it's been for gonna be almost a month. And this group, Shiny Hunters, claiming they used this 0-day to compromise that organization. So that's the first public mention with a large business impact of this. But we believe that, and based on our work with other incident response firms, hundreds of organizations were affected. Some of them, the impact was larger than for others, but this was the one that got public attention, and it was a huge business impact. The outcome was significantly bad. So just wanted to take some moments to explain this campaign, because it had so many different aspects that made it very specific and unique in the history of SAP cybersecurity, that I thought it was worth covering some of these aspects.
Thank you, JP. I think this is worthy enough just for being a episode on just on that one. Like what as a defender, what as a SAP cybersecurity professionals we can do, right? And be ahead and don't get on the news, right? We always say that this is a matter of when, it's not a matter of if. And the time has gone. I think that's one of the reasons we read this book, right? That the SAP was so close before. I think there was kind of false sense of security. I know you would agree on that, right? It nobody understands SAP. All the bad actors, they don't understand SAP as they understand other technologies, right? This is a uh, closed systems, and this is, I say, all its jargon. So, but now, just by hearing what you mentioned and by hearing how bad it was, that word has changed. We as a SAP security professionals or SAP basis professionals, and we really have to up our game and bring that cyber angle to it, right? So another thought on that, JP, right? So if customer have, like, they always have tools on the cyber side to kind of do on that on network layer, operating system layer, right? But if they didn't have anything like on apps is on the application side, all the tools they have on the other layer, will inform them about this vulnerability, the 31324, or they will just assume we're all good. Like what is your take on that one? I feel like that's another kind of that whole false sense of security which we should change, and then accept, like, you have to go beyond what we do on a traditional cybersecurity world, and focus on the application side of the world as well on SAP. So what's your take on that, JP?
Yeah, absolutely. And not only around this latest 0-day, if we think about SAP security and vulnerability management as a continuous process, as patches and vulnerabilities popping up periodically, other solutions, I don't want to mention names, but like standard solutions that you would already have probably to do vulnerability scanning internally on your applications, on your systems, network scanning. They may have one or two plugins, a handful of plugins for specific SAP vulnerabilities, but they would miss most of them, right? So these solutions are not focused on SAP applications. They don't develop content for SAP applications. They don't understand how to connect to SAP, how to test for specific vulnerabilities, how vulnerabilities are exploited in SAP. What are the technological caveats of a system, an instance, an application server, specific SAP services, SAP protocols, all of those things. So even if it may have one or two plugins, it may not be accurate to really tell you what you need to address. Yeah, I would say that's why the cybersecurity for SAP almost domain or industry was created, because there's a need for this. And that's why you need a specialized solution like on Apsys, for example, to do these type of things, right? Can you do that without technology? Yes, it could. It's going to be more man hours, more costly, more prone to errors. uh, I don't want to give a vendor pitch here, but it's really the complexity of the problem needs a comprehensive solution in this case. That's why I always recommend to go through being purposeful about solving the problem and doing it, investing the right resources for it.
Yeah, thank you, JP. So, as you rightly said, the current tools you have on the other layer, which probably would give you false sense of security for at least for the SAP ecosystem, because they focus on the infra layer, uh, the OS layer, or maybe even the database layer. Again, I may be wrong there, but to really make sure you are good on this kind of a threat and vulnerabilities for your SAP ecosystem, you may have to go beyond what you already have and think about. At least I would say, and you said like technology is one part of the puzzle. There's a process, people, and technology, right? So technology is like enabler, as you rightly say. You could always do it manually, but yeah, at least figure out what you have today, what program you have today, and you start somewhere, have some process, and then yeah, if you can, technology is always gonna make your life easier.
Yeah, if I may comment there, I always like to say that, and it implies many things, but it starts by being purposeful. So, like by having the objective of securing SAP applications, and it's not just something that you as a manager, as a leader, you have to. It has to be a company strategy, right? You have to have support from leadership, and then organizations can go and solve the problem by using solutions like Solution Manager or trying to use standard tools that SAP provides. That's a path you can go. We have many customers that attempted that path and came back and said, hey, like this, I cannot scale this. So really, like what you use or how you solve this problem doesn't really matter. To me, it starts by having the objective of securing your SAP applications and not sitting on huge risk that could potentially affect your business and be on the front page like this large manufacturing company that hopefully will recover operations soon. But yeah, we don't know. Still to be defined.
Yeah. Thank you, JP. I think going back to our remaining chapters, I think the chapter 7 was business continuity, disaster recovery. Chapter 8 was infrastructure security, and the next was network security. And then we had covered some the SAP's Trust Center, where kind of you can find all the artifacts, more about what SAP does to secure your systems. And then last chapter was more about the new word, which is like RISE and the cloud, and which you said the second word, and maybe will like to expand more on it. So just for the audience, I would say maybe just you want to just give something like about these remaining chapters before we kind of close, wrap up. Maybe give other like okay, the food for thought, or maybe how they can reach out to you, and maybe how they can learn more about any other resource. So before we go there, maybe just a maybe wrap, maybe fast overview of remaining chapters from your side, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the important part of the remaining chapters are the different layers of security, right? Like, it's not just about application security. That's the most complex and critical component. It also, we deploy SAP applications on a given infrastructure. It could be on premise, it could be in a private cloud, it could be in a public cloud, more consumed as a service, could be hybrid, all interconnected. So we have many different options, and organizations leverage all the different options that SAP provides. Understanding how to secure the infrastructure, the network, applying other concepts like DLP and disaster recovery, all of these additional concepts that we need to also keep in mind are important. So we've been building the remaining chapters as additional building blocks of this journey that is securing SAP applications. So, and yeah, we couldn't miss the latest, like the cloud, the shared responsibility model, RISE, and all of that, that will probably expand. If there's a second edition, we'll probably have to expand more and more on those areas.
And I think Rise itself need a separate dedicated 1 hour episode as well. If not more. So hopefully we can again invite you on that and maybe go deep into it on our podcast. So I think we are the, I would say, the wrap up kind of a slot of the podcast. So I will for our audience. So if they wanna, I have a couple of questions for you, JP. So if they wanna reach out, know more about it, what do you do, maybe how they can use your tool or whatever. So how they can reach out to you? Is it LinkedIn is the platform, or is there thing we can share to them on our podcast?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I can be reached out over email, jppereze at onapsis.com. And yeah, so I'm usually replying fairly quickly to any type of question or yeah, follow-ups from anyone. So yeah, happy to keep in touch. LinkedIn, Twitter works perfectly. Email as well.
Okay, so you are fine if you list your LinkedIn link on our podcast and things. Okay,
Absolutely.
so you have
Yeah.
permission. Okay, thank you, JP. And I believe you are also going to, because I think one thing I always, like, this whole community we're trying to build, the SAP cybersecurity community or the tribe, which I call, and the conferences play a very critical role there. I think because then you get to meet in person, you get to share things which probably you cannot share on a phone, on a web call like this, right? So I believe you are going to the SAP Insider EMEA, which is happening next week. Just for our EMEA audience, if they are going to be there, I think they probably would see you there, right?
That's correct. Yes, next week, October 1st to 3rd, in Copenhagen. So it's going to be a great conference. We have a lot of activities and sessions in place. So really looking forward to connecting with anyone there.
Okay, so for our EMEA audience, or even for global audience, if you're gonna be in the SAP Insider EMEA conference happening next week, I would be missing it out. Make sure you meet JP and the amazing team there. Maybe are you gonna be signing books there, or maybe I don't know. So if
I think so. Yes.
okay, okay, so you can get a signed copy at least for one of our authors, who's JP, and then maybe I can somehow tag along in future. But look out for JP. Get his signed copy on our Cybersecurity for SAP book if you're gonna be in SAP Insider conference. So I think that's it on our book. We will share the link of book where you can buy. We will share our author coupon. I think we have some discount coupon as well, JP. So we'll share that. Any departing thought before I let you leave, and maybe with the promise of you would come back maybe after the conference? So, for somebody who's like, this is all new for them, our book is one resource. What other they think they should be doing? Any other thing you want to just maybe give them? Uh, like key points, maybe top 3 points, JP?
I cannot avoid mentioning the Napsis Research Labs. We are putting out their blog posts, articles, advisories. We've been very active for the past years, so that's another source you can go to expose yourself to more of these concepts of vulnerabilities, threats, the threat landscape. The other is
So
SAP.
that's like a website. Sorry, that's like a website, or is it like a, like where do we find
It's
that?
on apsis.com/blog. That's where we
Okay, okay.
we publish most of the things. There are some other areas in the onapsis.com webpage. You can go to Onapsis Research Labs, and there you will find resources from a threat landscape perspective. We are on GitHub as well with the advisories. And yeah, the other side is SAP community, like the SAP community network. I would say there's a lot of activity there that we also try to publish there as well and follow up from our research, but using the resources that SAP provides, the source of security notes and knowledge base articles that is on SAP for me. Also, I know you need to have a user there, so that's sometimes a challenge where when an organization is not an SAP customer, but if your organization is an SAP customer, you can ask for that user and access all the good data that SAP puts out there in the form of notes, security notes, articles. So yeah, those would be probably main ones to go to.
Thank you, JP. I personally, I would say I will add LinkedIn there as well. So follow Onapsis and JP and team on LinkedIn. I think there's a lot of valuable updates. For me, at least, I go to LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn person, as you can tell. Uh, I think so. That's a platform. If you're not active on LinkedIn, if you're SAP security or SAP basis or SAP professional, and who are responsible for securing SAP, be active on LinkedIn. At least follow the experts, the tribe, the small tribe we have on SAP Cybersecurity. Our apps follow JP and Mariano and team there. So thank you, JP. Thank you for just all from my side. I would say I would have not asked for a better co-author. Such a humble person. I was fortunate to. That was my first book, and it was always a dream to have a book, and SAP Press. It's another dream. Like you always end up growing with reading SAP Press books. So I was fortunate, and I would say I was grateful to have you as my co-author, JP. And maybe we should work on version 2 or maybe some other books too. But thank you for what you do for our community, for our ecosystem, securing our SAP system, which is the crown jewel, the most important system for organizations, which we don't think. I think this is, if you just name any company, you would understand how SAP is serving those big and critical organizations in the world. But thank you, JP, for coming on my this podcast, Cyber Kriya. I know name it Kriya like actions, because if you don't take actions, you just consume knowledge. It's not gonna help you. So you have to start taking action. So that's the whole Cyber Kriya, and the Kriya is a Sanskrit word. Something I'm trying to like do it with my expert like you. But I think 1 hour is not enough with you, JP. So I'm gonna invite you again, and I'm grateful you accepted that invite too. Right? We'll see you again on our podcast, JP.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate your invitation, and yeah, looking forward to any upcoming one. Again, also I'm very happy with the with being able to write this book with you. Couldn't have asked for a better combination, better co-author. So appreciate it, and yeah, looking forward to upcoming editions of the podcast.
Thank you, JP, and safe travels for the EMEA SAP Insider. I couldn't wait to hear. I think I asked Jay on my first like podcast, like he would be there too. I think we have to get that community picture. We did that in like ritual in the Vegas. So maybe if you and maybe I will add myself somehow, edit it because I would not be there. But yeah, thank you and safe travels, and we'll again have you in our podcast soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.